All right, we are live.
All right.
Here we go. How's it going, Vito?
Excellent. Ready to rock and roll with you a little bit as we dig into some fun stuff.
Yeah.
I hope you prepared your audience.
Yeah, I think I have. I've definitely been talking about it a lot. But before we get into it, my name is Charlotte Fro. For anybody who is new to my page, just jumping on, my brand is Changed by Choice. So I'm super excited and honored today because I get to interview one of my mentors. And it's been a long time coming. So, just going into it just a little bit, Vito and I have known each other for about 3 years now. And he's been a huge, pinnacle part of my journey. And this is all going to weave into what Vito's going to be talking to us about today. And so I'm really excited. I hope that you guys have a pen, some paper, really ready to kind of rock and roll and get some amazing content. This was really something that I wanted to bring to my tribe to help them out. So often I hear people just expressing their goals when I'm coaching them, just wanting to start an online business, or maybe they've already started one and they just don't know how to get to the next level, or they don't even know what one is. So I think for all of those out there, this is really going to help you understand the truth of building an online business. And I think you're going to get some amazing nuggets along the way that are going to help you take yourself to the next level and hopefully get some more clarity in your life. So Vito La Fata, if you do not know him, thank God. Okay, just joking.
All right, so it begins early on. I like it.
And we start. Vito has, two amazing brands that he's part of. So he's got the Fitnesspreneur's Life, and he is co-founder of the Visionary Planner. And so I'm just going to pass it over to Vito for a sec so you can explain to us a little bit of your journey. What led you here and why those two brands?
Ooh, why those two brands and what led me here? I don't want to say it's one defining moment. I want to say it was probably a series of things because I came up through the fitness industry, and I went through what a lot of people go through when they're when they're service-oriented small business owners and things like that, that I just struggled with finding success in marketing and business and all that. And I didn't like being there. So all of a sudden I was just like, I'm going to start turning my attention to these things and I'm going to get better at this skill set. And once I figured that out and I was able to turn my record around, if you will, I was like, why not turn around and teach others what I've learned? And I ended up going and building brands around the fact that I didn't know how to be successful in the fitness industry. I started, I learned how to, and I turned around. I'm like, well, I'm going to build the Fitnesspreneur's Life around teaching the fitness industry how to create financial success, business success, so they can go live their lives and have freedom in their lives and things. And then this whole online brand thing, I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I better figure this out. And I studied it and I figured it out. And then I was like, well, others are behind me that want to know how I did it. And that's how I went and built Visionary Planner, to be like, let's teach them the process on how to go out and do it. But we do it a little differently. Well, we're talking to the visionaries, the people like you that are creating brands like Changed by Choice, things like that. Not like, I want to build an info product. I'm like, there's somebody else that could do that. We're like, do you want to be a visionary? Do you have a message? Do you want to go out and change the world in some way? That's what we built the Visionary Planner around. And we've got coaching groups, masterminds around those things. And that's where we're at today.
Awesome. All right. So, I want to go through just before, because there's a couple parts that you just talked about that I want to head back into. But, something that I really wanted to share was just a little bit about my journey and how I even connected to you in the first place. And because I feel like it really relates to who you help and why you help them. And yeah, usually I'm just, busting Vito's chops, but at the heart of our fun relationship, I, about 3 years ago, was really kind of struggling. And I had started a consulting company about 6 years ago, and that was going fairly well, but I was a little lost in the process, just in terms of where I was at in life and having had 2 kids and, struggling to get myself kind of back to that place of health and feeling good. And so I actually met Vito through a fitness company that we work for. And through that, he was actually the first person to introduce me and was actually my first coach. Vito coached me through what I'm now certified under, so high performance coaching, and he took time to really mentor me and to really work with me. And in that, actually, that's when everything changed for me. So it was a real defining moment in my life, and one that I'll never quite forget, because, you know, from that,
I won't let you forget it.
Yeah, I know you'll never let me forget. Every day I get a message, don't forget how important I am to you. But in that, you know, that opened up the door for me. Like, I became certified as a high performance coach. I started to build out my team. I built confidence in myself, my income, you know, all my goals started to fall into place. And then as Vito really moved forward with his vision in terms of helping people build their online businesses, their online brands, you know, I became part of that process too. And I've evolved alongside of his growth. And so it's just been this beautiful connection, and one that I honor so, so greatly. Obviously introduced me to his amazing wife, Anna Renfer, as well. But, you know, so really my journey has just shifted and changed because of somebody like you. And so that's why it means so much to me to be interviewing you right now. Yeah. And
you make it worth it, because, you know, not every student does what you recommend. And the difference, I think, about why you're probably where you're at, and you've started to build your audience and your platforms and your brands, because you took action. And I think that's something that your audience needs to make sure they hear about. You can take in all this content, have somebody show you a process. If you do nothing with it, you'll still stay where you're at, wishing or blaming or looking for other reasons about why it's not happening. It's usually the law of the mirror. You got to look in the mirror and ask, why am I not taking action? You did that, and that's probably why you're in a different place today.
thank you. And, you know, I talk greatly about, you know, always ensuring, you know, I'm a coach. And so I see the parallel in terms of seeing people get stuck and not knowing how to take action and move forward. And so really, you know, that it's incredible to see, you know, you're a coach as well. You know, you see the same things happen with your students that come through. For yourself, I want you to kind of go back, because you said, you know, you had hardships for yourself in terms of the fitness industry. What was that like, that moment, that kind of like, ooh, I kind of hit rock bottom moment for you that really helped you switch into action, because you did essentially what I just did, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, you know, I think people can have two paths. It can either be the one rock bottom defining moment, or it can be a series of moments strung together that really lead to a recognition that something needs to change. And it's kind of it's kind of a good segue into one of the truths about starting an online brand that I think not a lot of people are being told. And it's funny that it also relates to your brand. And like, I'm a product of change by choice. I wonder where we helped come up with that. Yeah. So, but the reason is like, I sat back and I looked at a lot of the things that were moving my life were being what I call like forced external reality, which was, I came out in Wall Street when I first came out of college, right? And I go into Wall Street and I'm in that situation. I'm like, so I spent all my years in college, I'm in Wall Street. I love the work, but I'm like, the people, I wanted to be like, I'm about to blow my brains out being around these people. And that's not a reality I could change. So it was forced upon me to be like, I don't like this, so I'm going to like leave this, not stay here, and move the journey forward. Then being like, when I started working in the fashion industry and going through that, and I worked for Calvin Klein at the time and things like that, and there was like a set of, you have to follow the Calvin way. And I was just like, but I'm listening to the customers, and the customers are saying, I rather have this shop this way, that way. They used to design some of their stores in Manhattan. And I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna listen to the people and make this change. But then corporate would roll around and be like, this isn't the Calvin way. And I'm like, but so what? My numbers are up 32% more than anybody that's ever had this job before. So who gives a shit? And they're like, no, it has to be this way. So it was a dogma. And I'm like, I can't change this. And the reality was like, I kept changing it. Every time they left, I'd change it back, pump up my sales. They'd come back, yell at me, until the point where they're like, you change it. And I'm like, no, you do this. You're fired. I was like, you control that. I don't. When I came in the fitness industry, and I worked for a big corporation at the time, and it was the same thing. I was one of the top trainers in the entire organization across the country. But I started to get the entrepreneurial spirit because I'm like, I'm trading dollars for hours. I don't make money when I'm not working. This sucks balls. I want to do something on the side. And they're like, you can't have a business on the side. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean I can't have a business on the side? Well, conflict. I'm like, I do nutrition coaching. I do training here. It's not the same thing over there. Why not? Well, it's just the way it is. I'm like, I don't believe in that dogma. And they're like, sorry, you're fired. So all these external factors always kept changing my life. And there came a point where I was just like, you know what? If I'm going to go out and take control back into my hands, I'm going to go with internal urgency, my own vision, my own mission, my own path, and stop letting other people dictate my external factors. So it was all those things to finally me saying, I'm done. Enough is enough. I'm going to start my own businesses, my own entrepreneurial journey, so that no one can take it away from me but myself. If I decide to be distracted, to be lazy, to whatever, then I can blame me. But nobody can take that back from me anymore. And that's when I started to just be like all the things. I could keep on going, business partner, split up of the thing, going 105 grand in debt, having a short sell my house. All those are just symptoms of the bigger problem that I needed to have a mechanism in my hand that only I could control by my own efforts. And I think that's where an online brand comes today, because everyone's got the beautiful idea of like, I want to have the freedom lifestyle. I want to control things for myself. But the thing that I watch so often is you can tell somebody, hey, here's the process to go build an online brand. And they'll take their time, distractions, life, emergencies, real stuff. It is real stuff. But you're still like, bottom line, at the end of the day, if you want that thing to change, you have to show up for this thing right now. And it's way more fun, way more pleasurable if you do it from a sense of internal urgency. Like, I can't say everybody has the thing that you have where you're like, I'm trying to leave an impact on this world before my time is said and done. We're hoping that that's what we can stir inside people. Mm-hmm. But that is like a want. And when reality sets in, people let go of the want because of a need. And then they go back to the comfortable stuff, the job, the 9-to-5, the steady check. And then they keep putting it off. And then, oh, my kids got sick or somebody in the family died and whatnot. And they keep putting it off. And then external realities come in. You're getting fired. You're getting laid off. The job, like Irma, Harvey, external factors like that. And I'm like, dude, if I could tell you one truth, go with the internal urgency instead of waiting for an external factor to force your hand, because then it's stress, then it's panic, then it's desperation. That sucks as a way to go build your vision and to go build your business or your brand. That all of that is to the point of like, if I could ever share with somebody, I'm like, learn from foresight versus hindsight. Can you take the lessons? Because it's like, how many times have we had to hear the stories? Like you go turn on a news channel, you can hear a story about a person like, Irma wiped out my business, this and that. What do I do now? I mean, that story's been told from other natural disasters. How many times can somebody hear the story of, I lost my job, I got laid off, now I need to go build something of my own? How many times have you heard like a spouse got moved and now I have to move my whole business and it was brick and mortar, I don't know how to do it, we're shutting down. I'm like, how many times do you need to hear these stories before you're like, protect your butt ahead of that external factor? Totally. Have the internal motivation. That's the thing that I think was one, what led me down to where I'm at. I think I had good mentors teaching me like, hey dude, how about you just pay attention a little bit sooner and this shit won't hit you so bad. And I was like, these guys are all doing exceptionally well. I'm just going to listen to them and start doing this as compared to waiting for external factors to kind of come up behind me again. Does that make sense?
Totally. And what I would say right now is for anybody who's listening in, is anything connecting? Are you in a spot right now where you feel stuck or you feel like you can't get past some of those obstacles, or that battle between, those internal factors versus external ones. I want you to write that down. Part of this is really a reflective process, and it's the more understanding that you have as to where you're at, the more clear you're going to become, so that you can actually take action and make the right choices for yourself. And so, I want you to pay attention to the little stories that Vito's sharing right now, because it's crucial. It's crucial to you being able to ask yourself and self-coach a little bit of like, are you happy? Are you aligned right now? Are you fearful of the future? Are fears coming up for you constantly that you can start to develop a plan for? Or if you've already started, what's holding you back? Are your fears taking over right now? And so I really want you to write that down. Because it's like I said, it's crucial. You can either have, yourself kind of step in your own way and stop you from actually having the life that you want, or you can start to learn how to work with yourself differently so that you can move forward and really create the life that you want, and have happiness and peace. And, I look at us, and I'm not saying we don't have stresses, life happens. And I think with more awareness, it gets even messier. You know what I mean? Like you don't avoid the hardships, but you learn how to move through it. Right. So
you get better equipped. You get better equipped.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Is like people don't realize that what got you to where you're at today isn't going to get you to the next level. So if you're not consistently investing in the new skill sets that you need, you're just not going to be equipped enough to handle what's coming in. And we can absolutely look at the world today and understand that it is at a pivotal point of change. Mm-hmm. And it's almost going to become sink or swim. That it's like the world is becoming a very like dog eat dog world, that you absolutely have to just pay attention to taking your own control back by investing in your own competencies, your own skills, your mindset, the people that you're around, the things that the aim that you have, the focuses that you have, because it's just too critical of a time. It's not like school or government or politics or the job world, corporate America or institutional religions and all this stuff are giving you this. Only you can give it to yourself. And I think that's what a lot of people wait for somebody else to give it to them. Like, it ain't coming. It ain't coming. You have to choose. And that's why when you talk about like helping them get clarity of their why or something, it seems so ethereal for people. But I'm like, it doesn't need to, like, I'm like, I started with like 2 main missions. I'm like, I think obesity is weakening our country, weakening our economy, weakening people's families, and I'm like, I'm going to do something about that, because I don't think the healthcare system is doing a great job of it. I don't think medicine is doing a great job of it. Not that they don't do good stuff, but I'm like, they're not on the prevention side. So I gave myself a mission, and I'm like, that's the badge I'm going to start wearing. And then I was like, I think people don't like living broke. It sucks. So I was just like, I'm learning how to make money. So how about I turn around and teach people how to make money so we can put a dent in reversing the trend of living broke? And those became my 2 anchors. And I'm like, that's it. Those are my manifestos. Those are the things I go forth with, that even when my dad is dying with Alzheimer's, I'm still like, I get it. That sucks. Nothing I can do about it. But what can I do? What can I control? I'm working on a webpage. I'm working on a campaign. I'm working on a coaching group. I'm helping other people live forth, because that's the thing I got to be able to leave back to honor the memory of what he gave me the opportunity for. He came to America to give me more opportunity, not to sit and be like, give up your whole life for me now that I'm sick and dying. And those are tough realities, but those are either our willing choices, or kind of you get what you get. I just don't believe in get what you get. I say go get what you deserve and what you earn.
Totally. And I mean, I really want to honor you there, right? There are a lot of times that we get hit with hardship, and especially with what you just shared about your dad. And it's easy to kind of give up and allow that to just be the reason why not. And to hear that you're using it as a purpose, it's a testament to how you have done everything, right? Obstacle comes, thing happens, it doesn't feel good. Obviously that one connects deeply to your heart, but you're changing that and you're converting that to a mission, because there's no point in just staying stuck, right? And just wasting that time. You're not getting anywhere if that's what's happening anyways. So I really want to honor you for that, because that's a really, really tough struggle to go through. So,
yeah. But I mean, like, it's, back to, can we learn from the people that came before? And I'll touch on that one a little later when we kind of get deeper into this conversation, but it's look at the stories of life and look at the stories of triumph and people that have found a way through. And they're all like, the obstacle was the way. They're like, I didn't hide from it. I didn't run from it. I didn't do it. I embraced it. I'm always like, adversity is just a workout for the soul, man. The obstacle is the way. And you just got to be like, how do I figure my way through it? But I don't know where we lost that desire to get our hands dirty with that and to toil through that and to work through that. I think if we go back to that mentality and that I don't want the easy way. The easy way sucks. You don't grow that way. But everybody, I mean, look at marketing today. Look at the quick fix, the easy pill, to just give it to me in a box, to do this and that. I'm like, that's about a bunch of fancy marketing. But I'm like, truth, it ain't coming that way.
No.
You think building your online brand is going to be like, I'm just going to put up a product and everyone's going to come buy it? I'd rather burst that bubble right now and be like, that ain't coming. And that's a good segue into like truth number 2 about building an online brand. You better go earn an audience and a vision first.
Yeah.
Then worry about your product. Then worry about stuff. A lot of people will tell you, like, good marketing out there. I'm constantly watching it. They're like, hey, build this info product, do this, and you're going to launch a 6-figure. I'm like, you don't got an audience. You don't have authority. You're going to launch a big fat 0. And then you're going to be pissed that you invested time, money, energy in something that seems like it fell flat, but you're just like, you just didn't do the steps prior. You didn't do all the things that needed to go before so that you can earn the right to sell somebody something, because you preceded that by adding value, creating a tribe, being of service, and let alone just testing the theories of a product before you put it out. I mean, the best companies in the world know how to test products before they put them out in small beta groups before they go out and do stuff. I don't know how granular you want to get on like actual business stuff, but we can go wherever you want to take this baby.
Well, hey, I mean, if that's where you want to start to dig into and just give us a bit of an example as to, I mean, that example in itself kind of leads into an obstacle, right? Where people have the mentality that there's this quick fix, that even just the topic that we're talking about right now is one where it's like, I just do this and I'm going to have 6 figures. And it's like, no, not quite that simple, right? And the whole reason why we chose to talk about the 5 truths was to really, debunk the myths of, hey, like, you got to work hard. It's not meant to be easy here. Like, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. We could be talking about building an online brand. We could be talking about relationships. We could be talking about, leveling yourself up in terms of your finances and your business, whatever. It's not meant to be easy. If it were, everybody would be there. We would all be millionaires and billionaires and have complete success. But the thing is that it's achievable. And, I think the commonality here, and you talked about it just a little bit before, and you always say this, and I always laugh because I share it as well. It's like, you're not, you don't come out of the womb and you're like completely successful and are that type of person. Success is not that type of person. You can learn how to be successful. It's not outside of your capabilities. You just have to be able to do the work and do the right work to get there. So what would you say in terms of, what you were just sharing of like, what does that work look like?
Ugly, unsexy, every single freaking day. But
Amen.
The reason you're gonna do it is because something mattered. You had some value, you had some vision or whatnot. Because that's the thing, like, I mean, and I'm sure you work with this with your audience, because knowing you're a certified high performance coach and just knowing the way you build your brand, that you talk with them that without clarity of vision first, we don't have the anchors about what pulls us forward. We don't know why at 5 a.m. you're like, I'm watching this video about building a course. I could be sleeping. Like, if I didn't have the vision for myself, that internal reason, I wouldn't have, when I was running a studio and I'm 105 grand in debt. I watched my house just get short sold, and I'm in my apartment now, like downsized in life, like, what the hell just happened? And being like, but here I am watching a Jeff Walker video, a Brendan Bouchard video, and I'm like studying a course to be like, I got to be at the gym at 6. It's 4:45 right now. Let me get in an hour of this video right now. I wouldn't have been doing that. Then come home at 8 o'clock to eat, to shower, to be like, another video, watch the next module, then go do it. I wouldn't have been doing that if there wasn't a burning desire. And it sucked that whole time. But what most people aren't willing to recognize is also another truth of the short-term pain for the long-term gain. They just don't want to go through that. And then it's just kind of like, well, don't expect anything to be different in your life. I know that may sound harsh, but it's real. It's real. And I just don't, I think we need more conversations, just kind of no fluff, no BS, just like, here it is. Data backs it up. History backs it up. I don't know what else we got to tell you. The only thing you could choose to be like, I have to go learn by making my own mistakes and whatnot. And I'm like, that's cool. I totally get that. We need to learn from our mistakes. But I've just found the path more pleasurable and profitable when you learn by others' mistakes and you're like, oh, that's a mistake you made? I'll avoid that mistake. Thank you for telling me about it. And I'm going to find a way to circumvent that because you're turning around and telling us how. It's just most people just, it's like, I'm like, they just don't want to listen. They don't want to do that, that hustle, that grind, if you will, because they haven't found the reason why. And, you know, if there's anything we can keep developing more of a skill set with people, it's how do you just, you know, I know Brendan's your mentor as well. You know, stop waiting for the piano of purpose to come fall on your freaking head. Give yourself one and be okay with it evolving. I guarantee you your why today isn't the same why of 5 years ago.
Totally different.
If it is,
yeah.
Right. If it is, I'm like, you haven't grown shit.
Well, you know I have.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I know I can make that example out there. But I you know, what we earn, we value. And I think that's why, like even when we're our students in the Visionary Planner, I'm like, I can't tell you that this course is going to be easy because I'd be lying to you. I'm like, I'm giving you at a bare minimum, it's a 2-year course. And people are like, you can sell a 2-year program. And I'm like, not to a lot of people, but I can to the right people. And that's the difference. I don't need everybody. I need the right people. And that's a joy about building a brand based on, do you know who you want your audience to be versus trying to just jam a product out. Do you know who you want to actually work with? Who do you want to surround yourself by? What is that? I'm like, we look at it as we're like, so you know what? What if we built the world with more visionaries, more of the Walts, more of the Brendans, more of the Jeff Walkers, more of these kind of people out there, more of the Marie Folios and people that are out there with message and mission and things like that? What if we did that versus, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with businesses, just pure businesses. Of course, those are great. But it goes back down to, who do you want to work with? What's that niche? What's that unique message? What's that unique thing? So I'm like, I don't want to be in the generalist trap that's going on out there today. I'm like, so let's just go with, we're going to teach people how to build a visionary brand. It takes a while because you don't have 9 hours a day. If you had 9 hours a day, I can turn around to you and say, hey, you know what? We can build something in the next 6 months to a year, but you don't, because you're doing this as a side hustle. You're doing this on the like, when you have spare time in between putting the kids down, your other work that you got to do right now, because you can't walk away from it completely. So how about I tell you the truth that if you're only going to work 1 to 2 hours a day, it's a 2-year process.
Totally.
Let's have more of those conversations out there. Let's put more of that in our marketing. And one, you'll have a better quality of person because that person goes in knowing what to be prepared for. And then what you're going to create, you're going to be more proud of. I just think it's a difference about one of the truths out there.
100%. And I mean, and for all of you out there, it's starting to really ask yourself, you know, when you think of your life, you know, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, I don't know about you guys, but I constantly think about, you know, would I look back with any kind of regret because I feel like we get to see into the future a little bit because we have seen how other people have made their choices. And when they look back and they're like, I could have, I wish I would have, whatever that might be. And so, it's perfect in terms of that example that you gave, that like, let's learn from other people's choices or mistakes or whatever that might be, so that we have the power right now to make a choice that's different, but it's going to take hard work. And so, yeah, sorry.
Let me ask you this, Charlotte. So like, I mean, cause you're on point right there. Cause like, here's the thing, that like the stories have been written. Mm-hmm. They're out there. It's just, are you paying attention to them? So when you're finding with your audience and whatnot, what do you think holds them back from being like, I see the stories, I see the examples, how come I'm not doing it? What holds them back?
Great question. There's usually two prominent pieces that hold them back. First, lack of clarity. They don't know how to take the steps, so there's something that's missing there. And secondly would be their productivity habits, would be, in terms of time. Often people are always like, I don't have enough time. I've got all this going on. Yes, I have this dream and this desire, but I want to, but I don't know how to fit it in. And then when it comes down to it, there's a little bit of, I haven't done it. Sometimes just that desire, that why isn't yet ingrained, where you're willing to make the sacrifices at the beginning to fully move forward, because it is that at the beginning, it's a lot of sacrifice. But when you're connected to your why, and I use myself as a guinea pig, I feel like I speak completely from a place of, I'm doing it, I've done it, I immerse myself in it. And yeah, it's not sexy, like Vito said. It is not a sexy process, but it feels good when you connect.
Okay. So let's break that down though. So one, it was connect to why. So back to kind of like the way I put it, like find your internal motivator, your intrinsic thing that drives you before you let the real world come crashing in. How's that? Like, that's a universal truth. You've got that. Now, what was the other things? They don't have clarity of what to do.
Yeah, sometimes it's the process. They don't know how, like they have this, they're connected to why, they have this vision and dream, and then they don't know what the process and the steps are. They don't really know where to begin.
Okay, so, and then the other one was productivity and time.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
So, I know this, you may have to, because it's your audience, want to give soft, tough love.
You just got it.
Don't have to. I get to be like, if you're using time as an excuse, it's utter bullshit.
Totally.
You are an excuse maker. And unless you get rid of that, you will forever be stuck exactly where you are.
100%.
Because back to examples in the real world, Richard Branson has the same amount of time as all of us. Why is he making hundreds of millions? Elon Musk has the same amount of time as us. Why is he making billions? Because they've learned to master their time, they've learned to focus their attention, and they've chosen to clear the decks of all other things. They know they're needle movers. They know what matters to them. They know what their thing that they're going to be remembered for, and all else is not on their plate, because either they've scaled and leveraged by creating automation or building team and things like that. And some people, I can't build automation. Yes, you can. I can't build a team, maybe not right away, whatnot. But I didn't start that way. You didn't start that way. I was toiling at it, figuring it out. Was just like, I'll figure out email autoresponders, because that might buy me 5 hours a month. 5 hours a month, I finally turned that into what's the next skill I need. And I kept investing in skills and or assets that I needed to make time no longer become a thing. And I had to sacrifice at points. I come from the fitness industry where it's near blasphemy to say, give up a couple of clients and spend your time working on business and marketing. But there came a reality where I was just like, every hour I'm on the floor as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, I'm losing money every time I'm on the floor. So I had to understand that reality and then be like, okay, others have said you got to get off the floor. You got to work on the business, not in the business. I was like, okay, truth, go do something about it. Figure out how to do it. And it sucked for the short term, But 6 months later, you're like, oh shit, that's like an extra $5,000 a month now that I've actually freed up that time. What if I give a little bit more? And you just chop away at it and chop away at it. The thing is that until the person first just recognizes you don't know how to either create white space, you don't know how to play block time, and then you don't know what to aim that time at, that's why you're falling through. That's why you're still using the time excuse. And you yet haven't found that internal thing. So I'm sure you teach productivity and all that. So we don't got to go down that path too deep. But when it comes to process, I'm like, you have opposable thumbs, right? Now we've evolved since the monkey type thing. I'm like, you got opposable thumbs, man? Type into Mr. Googs how to get a blog, how to build a site, how to do this and that. It's out there. You just won't go through that work if it's not important to you, if it doesn't matter to you. Because then it's just like, oh, my kid, my this, that. My husband doesn't think I should do this, whatever it is. You just go back, it's easier to take the paycheck. It's easier to just, well, I don't know what to tell you then, because the process is there. What is often difficult is a lot of the gurus and teachers and whatnot out there, they're teaching a piece of the process. So it's tough to amalgamate it all and synthesize it and do it in what right order and whatnot. That is definitely more helpful. But there are people that have been like, I'm putting it in the right order for you. I mean, that was the whole basis of why we built the Visionary Planner. I'm like, I had to spend 5 years figuring out the order. That sucked. Why did you get to move a lot faster? Because I'm like, Charlotte, do it in this order.
Totally.
Do this first, do this second, do this third. So it's there. How hungry are you to find the process instead of saying, I don't know the process? Then you're going to get into deeper stuff like fear, worry, failure. And that's the thing that I think dents people the most is they have really bad long-term memory. They keep remembering all the failures.
Yeah.
And they keep thinking when they see a new course or a new book or anything, what's different this time? I failed in the past. And that's what hurts about oftentimes when people are trying to build. They blame themselves for the failures versus just could have been bad coaching, could have been a bad teacher, could have been a bad course, could have been a bad product, could have been a bad idea, could have been the wrong vision, could have been whatever. It's not you fundamentally, just like you're not birthed a success, you're not birthed a failure. You gave yourself that label over time. Totally. Or your environment gave you that label and you need to ditch that environment. Those are some of the bigger, deeper questions that I think, once again, like they're not talked about in the pursuit of just trying to build a brand. Sometimes people are just looking for the how-to as compared to there's a lot of psychology behind things. There's a lot of mindset stuff that's in the way before I can just give you how-to. Because here's the how-to, but your fear of perfection.
Huge one.
You never date. I'm like, why haven't you launched yet? It's not perfect. Why haven't you gotten that email? Not perfect. Why haven't anything? Not perfect. I'm like, okay, so where along your lines did daddy or mommy or somebody tell you like you colored outside the lines, you bad kid, you, and now you still think that like you can't do that? Where? And I just don't see a lot of courses. I honestly, I only know one mentor or two that teach that way, that dig into that. Because if you don't uncover the deeper psychology stuff, hey, line up all the how-to in the world, and shit ain't gonna get done.
Hey, you know what? That is something I'm hugely passionate about. You know, it's why I really actually label myself as a mindset coach, you know, success and mindset coach, because if you don't strengthen your mindset, it doesn't matter what we're talking about right now. It really doesn't. It starts and ends there, you know, how we show up for ourselves, and not just the uncovering the why, which is beneficial, but then how to propel into action, because that's really what matters, is that you take what you've learned, but then you just move yourself forward, because guess what? You're always handed the opportunity to move forward. There's never a day where somebody's like, you're not allowed to move forward. You tell yourself that. It's not nobody else, you know? And so really, it's the more that, and that's why I'm a little more touchy-feely, like in terms of, my coaching style, but, understanding how how you tick and function, and really like being able to strongly coach yourself and talk to yourself is just so crucial in the process. You're generating motivation.
And the willingness to receive challenge and tough love in your life.
Yeah.
You give your coach permission to give you tough love, to challenge you, to teach you how to think. Like, you can receive so much more than when you're guarded up, like you're ego protecting, or you're worried about your identity issue, or you're worried about what others will think of you. Judgments, opinions, the naysayers, the hackers, the doubters. If you're worried about all that world, there's no way to receive the best information, outside perspective, to see what's in your blind spots or what's holding you back, as compared to like, I need you to tell me what I don't see. I need you to call me out. Willingly take your foot, like in the old cartoons, and propel it, and swift kick me in the ass, like Popeye. I'm like, do it. I'm all right with that. And I think that that's always been something that is a demarcation line of success. Are you willing to accept challenge, like wholeheartedly? Like, bring it on. Where many people just shudder from, if you give them tough love, they can curl into a ball and cry. And they can curl into a ball and be like, I can't talk to you, it morally offended me, this, that. And you're like, back to, I just don't know if you have the big, deep enough why as to why you would be willing to accept this. I've had to be like some of the things that had to have been said, I'm like, cool, it doesn't feel great.
No.
But cool, guess what I'm going to do with it? Something, not nothing. I'll do something with that, because then I can course correct. Feedback is the greatest thing that you can get in life, in business. Feedback, because then you're like, I could do something with it. But you're only going to do something with it if there's a reason why you want to go do that. Even if it's as simple as like, I want to be the best mom or dad or spouse I can be. It doesn't need to be this, again, I got to go save the world. But in the reality of creating the next best generation, everybody needs to be challenged as a parent.
Totally.
Because you're often dealing with the shit your parents did to you.
And it's also to be said to break certain patterns that you see happening. Like, I consciously saw certain patterns happen that I was falling back, I was falling right into. And it took me to be like, no, this stops now. The buck stops here with me. And I need to change this by changing behaviors and choices, and to really understand, like, why am I even doing what I'm doing? And so, that's the process. It doesn't feel good. Exactly like you said. There's not a day where I'm like, God, this growth just feels amazing. It's like, no, it's hard. It's really tough, but it's worth it, because you look at the results. You look at like the accomplishments and the milestones, and I'm sure you see it with your students all the time. When they get that aha moment, and they're just like, you just feel it when they talk, right? And so really makes it
one of the most motivating, powerful things in life is the moment of breakthrough.
Ah, so good.
Because all of a sudden you're just like, that felt good. When you're like, I saw a pattern that I was doing, that I was falling into the same way. I'm making crap up. Where you're like, my mom was always this way, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, my God, I saw myself starting to do that with my kids. And you're like, well, just good God, just the moment of awareness is a breakthrough. The fact that you're like, I can see outside my body right now, and I see what a douche I'm being. And you're like, holy cow. Okay, awareness. Awesome. Now, because you're like, I've said I want to be the best mom I can be. Now I'm willing to say, shine a light on what I'm doing wrong. And I'm going to go into the deliberate practice of getting better at it. I'm not doing something good here. How about I go find a skill on why I can't communicate with my kids, or why I have this thing. So you're like, I'm making up crap, Charlotte. We're like, communication with my kids, I'm struggling with that. Where you're like, I could do nothing and just continue to beat them, or I can go. I'm thinking of my form. I was just like, can I tie back to that joke I put in the form? But I'm like, I'll keep it. Luckily, my mom is Sicilian. She can never see this stuff. She doesn't even know what a computer is. So I could be like,
Poor
Mom,
mother.
what do you mean, my poor mom? It's
And
poor
her
Vito.
wife.
Poor Vito. People, you all don't know what I went through in all those years. People, actually, they could not have been more awesome. I like to bust their chops because they tried to force religion down my throat. I fought them, but nonetheless, but you were willing to say, I need better skill sets here to grow in the way I need to. And even like when I've done high performance with you, you're totally cool when I badger you or when I challenge you in some way, because you're like, the goal is healthy, well-adopted, inspired, motivated children that go out and do better than even I did. So you're like, bring it. And you said a comment to yourself in your head. I forgot how you said it, but it's in essence, it's enough is enough. Mm-hmm. That's a powerful statement in somebody's life, because you can take that to enough is enough in the relationship. I'm in an abusive relationship. Enough is enough. I don't like being broke. Enough is enough. Totally. I don't like the way my business is. Enough is enough. I don't like the way I'm being with my spouse. Enough is enough. With my kids, enough is enough. The moment you can get to that and then simply go out and invest in the process, anything you want is possible. Totally. Anything you want is possible. The paved path, like this is another truth for your audience. The paved path is the faster, easier path. People have done it before you. Mm-hmm. Just go find them. Go get coaching from them. Go get in their masterminds. Go get in their programs. Go read their books. Go do something, because somebody's like, I figured out a way, and I'm turning around to teach it and share it with you here. That's a lot easier than trying to trailblaze by yourself, trying to figure out alone, being in a room alone, beating yourself up alone, trying to piece it together alone. That just doesn't need to exist anymore. That reality's gone. Like, there's this thing called the internet. We can right now. You and I are in completely different countries, being able to connect. You're in a far better country than I am right now. Help.
Oh gosh, I knew that one was going to. But it's true. Peace out. Well, one day you will move to us. Vito.
But you see, exact example. Like in my country, for me, I'm not happy with the level of leadership it's at. I can bitch about it, or I can do something about it. So what am I doing? I'm like, I'll create more entrepreneurs. I'll create more visionaries. I'll create more people that control their own destiny. They ain't going to worry about healthcare. They ain't going to worry about what the government hands them. They're not going to worry about that shit, because they're like, I figured out my own way to freaking create my own ticket, create my own destiny, put power into my hands. So I don't need the handout. I don't need to rely on what else is going on out there. I control it. So I'm like, that's the way I'll combat it. Instead of, I wish it were different. I wish it was whatever. I'll add value, educate, speak my voice, make sure I'm being intelligent about what I'm saying. Sometimes it ain't. Sometimes it is emotional. Sometimes it is anger. But you know what? It's backed by action. That's the thing that we all have in our hands. Do it.
Absolutely. We're all in the driver's seat, right? I mean, even when you were talking about some of the kind of like fake examples, just, when we were talking about kids and stuff, but when you said, enough is enough, right? The words, like for myself in that moment, was like, if not now, when am I ever going to do this? Right. And that was the truth of what came out of you coaching in, in that process, and action is what got me through that. You got to hit a wall. You've got to hit the no more of this. This is not going to be my existence.
Back to that truth of short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Totally.
I can remember calls with you where it's you and one of your kids and the other one, and you're giving them like a NyQuil blow pop, trying to get them to fall asleep and whatnot. Child services, if you want, you can find her. But it wasn't convenient for you to be on calls getting some of the toughest love coaching, because I'm not the easiest person on that kind of stuff. And you're juggling kids, doing whatever you got to do. Sometimes you have to discipline them and do what, like right on camera. And I'm like, I'm cool with it. I'm good. And you're like, I know, because this is my reality right now, but this won't be my reality forever. Because if not now, when? And when you've got the right coaches and mentors and people in your room, the same way I know you're paying it forward to your tribe, all is forgiven.
Yeah.
All moves forward. And
Totally.
we're doing stuff because you're like, I'm willing to accept the short-term pain. Because in a few years from now, it won't look like this. Most people just don't want to go through the few years. Through the few years. I'm like, a lot of people are like, man, how did you get? I'm like, did you miss the 7 years prior to this? In particular, like the minute, like I'm like, y'all miss those things. But what I did was I prepared. I diversified. I protected myself so that when factors come in, I can make much better choices from a much better place because I started to think ahead, started to use foresight, not just hindsight.
Totally.
If there's anything I tell your audience to be like, think about those things as you're trying to go out there and think about building your brand. Now, we didn't get into like logistics about building a brand type stuff, but if you don't accept that you need to have a vision and an external motivator, if you don't accept that the paved path is easier than the faster path, if you don't understand that you can't blame time and you need to produce, you don't understand that you got to go deep and find a niche to go serve and whatnot. And that's one that we didn't talk about as much. But if there's anything that I would, on a pure business level, I would tell your audience to be careful of is trying to go out there and talking to everybody and in essence being heard by nobody, because there's just too much noise today. It's too much noise, too many options, too much marketing, too much whatever. That go narrow, go deep, think of the niche that you kind of like when I was sharing it. I'm like, so I mostly work with the fitness industry, but for 7 years. Now we're starting to branch off into other verticals. But for 7 years, we didn't look at anything else besides the fitness industry. But then we're like, the fitness industry is broken up into different things. I'm like, I want to talk to the people that want to go online. That's how we break it down one more. Then I was like, I want to talk to people that want to go online, but want to build visionary brands, don't want to just put out a bunch of info products. So 3 levels deep, I can create my sub niches to distinguish myself by message, by method, by process. That's something that you want your audience to think about, because otherwise it's Me Too marketing. I'm trying to talk to everybody. And the generalist market, that shit's free online now. That, be aware of that. Check out your niches. Make sure that you are willing to accept some short-term pain for the long-term gain. I think if they put those 5 truths into place, they start from a better foundation. And foundation is important before you start laying the bricks of the house. Everybody wants to jump to bricks of how do I make an email campaign? How do I build the product? How do I build this and that? I'm like, have the foundation in place. Accept these truths first. Then the how-to, it's all coachable. It's all coachable. Make sense?
100%. It does make sense because I've been doing it.
That's right. I mean, like, you know what I can do? Because I know we spent a lot of time on those things. I can give you like a cool gift to give to your audience where I'm like teaching the 21 blocks of building an online brand and that whole process, even a cool little brand assessment map that they can go assess their current business or brand. Where am I? What blocks am I missing? I'll give you a link to that. They can get 3 videos for free. They can get like a whole coaching on how to build an online brand workshop. Awesome. That, yeah, we normally charge about $500 for that because I like you. Yes, well, I actually like your message. I like your message. We'll give that too. So I'll give you that link. You can send it out to your list and all that kind of cool stuff. And we'll give them some good trainings more on the how-to. This way, we got to focus on some of the realities and the truths, and hopefully we serve them well with that.
Yeah. So just kind of like finishing us off, I want you to think back to yourself, in terms of when you were young, being a little shit disturber.
What do you mean when I was young? I'm still eternally youthful right now.
Youthful. I'm younger than you, just so you know. But when you were a child, what advice would you give yourself? The little Vito that was literally stirring up havoc for your mother.
I mean, never, this is like the one thing that I've always done is I always had a very vivid imagination and I never stopped dreaming. Like I was to that point of always being like, I was a person that was absolutely like, I'm Kung Fu theater in the backyard because I'm like, my imagination was like, I am a Shaolin monk. I can do everything I just watched on TV. Oh, I just saw Indiana Jones. I am an archaeologist. I will dig a ditch in the back of my freaking house, the size of a car, organizing the entire neighborhood to dig for dinosaur bones and Indian artifacts. That told my mom, never leave me alone for 8 hours. Never leave me alone for 8 hours. As she came out and found a hole that we could put a Jeep in. And 17 kids running a system. That's how I learned systems, by the way. Buckets and ropes, digging for art. But like that imagination, that ability to dream, never lose that, because otherwise you'll accept just what the world tells you. And there's a great line from this like poem from Eddie Vedder once where he's just like, once you trade magic for fact, there's no going back. So don't ever lose the idea of the magical, the whimsical in your life. That's why Disney is one of the greatest brands in the world. They stir our imagination. They stir our dreams. Never lose that, because everything else today is teachable. It's coachable. I can't teach you to dream.
Totally.
You have to choose willingly to continue to dream and imagine the world in the way you want to create it. Today in 2017, everything else is figure outable. Everything else. You just can't give people the ability to dream unless you willingly want it. So the question to your audience is, do you dream for something? Even if it's just a better life for you, your kids, or whatnot, whether it's creating a legacy or whatnot, go back and remember what the hell you dreamed out. And then realize today it can be real.
Awesome.
Cool?
Yeah. Well, once again, just thank you so much for joining us.
No, girl, it's awesome to see how you're growing, what you're doing. To your audience, don't get away from change by choice. Make the changes you want in your life by choice versus other people choosing for you. You go change them. You have the ability to choose, to decide, to commit, to succeed. Get after it. Your brand is well named and your message is well named, and you're doing awesome things out there. So it was fun for me to get to come on and play with you and your audience for a little bit. So my thanks to you. We got to get ready to rock and roll for the next audience that we got ready to tee up.
Awesome. Well, you take care and we'll chat soon.
You got it, girl. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
Awesome.